Hi there, readers. So this week I'm going to be reading a section from our current book, obviously, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. And this is a topic that is kind of becoming a favourite of mine, and it's the connection between shame and perfectionism. And the guidepost that we're reading today is guidepost 2, which is cultivating self-compassion and letting go of perfectionism. And we're talking about the connection between shame and perfectionism. And I think this is worth a bit of our attention because, as Brené points out, we find the word shame a little bit daunting and we don't want to connect it with perfectionism. We don't really want to connect it with ourselves. And I think her words really give us a sense of perspective on this word shame and kind of puts it into where it should be in our lives, which is a normal topic of conversation. So if you want to read along, press pause and grab your books. We're going to read from page 74. One of the best parts of my work is receiving letters and emails from readers. In early 2009, I received my 1000th email from a reader of I Thought It Was Just Me. To celebrate, I decided to facilitate an 8-week read-along of the book. I called it the shame.lessjoy.full read-along. Just before the read-along started, I received an email that said, I love the idea of a read-along. I don't think I have shame issues, but if you ever do something on perfectionism, I'll be the first in line. Her sign-off was followed by a short little sentence that read, P.S. Shame and perfectionism aren't related, are they? I emailed her back and explained the relationship between shame and perfectionism. Where perfectionism exists, shame is always lurking. In fact, shame is the birthplace of perfectionism. I loved her response. You might want to talk about that before we start the read along. My friends and I know that we struggle with perfectionism, but we don't claim shame. We don't claim shame. You can't believe how many times I've heard that. I know shame is a daunting word. The problem is that when we don't claim shame, it claims us. And one of the ways it sneaks into our lives is through perfectionism. As a recovering perfectionist and an aspiring good enoughist, I found it extremely helpful to bust some of the myths about perfectionism so that we can develop a definition that accurately captures what it is and what it does to our lives. Perfectionism is not the same as striving to be your best. Perfectionism is not about healthy achievement and growth. Perfectionism is the belief that if we live perfect, look perfect, and act perfect, we can minimize or avoid the pain of blame, judgment, and shame. It's a shield. Perfectionism is a 20-ton shield that we lug around thinking it will protect us, when in fact, it's the thing that's really preventing us from taking flight. It's stopping us from being seen. Perfectionism is not self-improvement. Perfectionism is, at its core, about trying to earn approval and acceptance. Most perfectionists were raised being praised for achievement and performance, grades, manners, rule following, people pleasing, appearance, sports. Somewhere along the way, we adopt this dangerous and debilitating belief system. I am what I accomplish and how well I accomplish it. Please, perform, perfect. Healthy striving is self-focused. How can I improve? Perfectionism is other-focused. What will they think? Understanding the difference between healthy striving and perfectionism is critical to laying down the shield and picking up your life. Research shows that perfectionism hampers success. In fact, it's often the path to depression, anxiety, addiction, and life paralysis. Life paralysis refers to all the opportunities we miss because we're too afraid to put anything out in the world that could be imperfect. It's also all of the dreams that we don't follow because of our deep fear of failing, making mistakes, and disappointing others. It's terrifying to risk when you're a perfectionist. Your self-worth is on the line. I put these 4 insights together to craft a definition of perfectionism because you know how much I love to get words wrapped around my struggles. It's long, but man, has it helped me. Perfectionism is a self-destructive and addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought. If I look perfect, live perfect, work perfect, and do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. Perfectionism is self-destructive simply because there is no such thing as perfect. Perfection is an unattainable goal. Additionally, perfectionism is more about perception. We want to be perceived as perfect. Again, this is unattainable. There is no way to control perception regardless of how much time and energy we spend trying. Perfectionism is addictive because when we invariably do experience shame and judgment and blame, we often believe it's because we weren't perfect enough. So rather than questioning the faulty logic of perfectionism, we become even more entrenched in our quest to live, look, and do everything just right. Feeling shamed, judged, and blamed, and the fear of these feelings are realities of the human experience. Perfectionism actually increases the odds that we'll experience these painful emotions and often leads to self-blame. It's my fault I'm feeling this way because I'm not good enough. To overcome perfectionism, we need to be able to acknowledge our vulnerabilities to the universal experiences of shame, judgment, and blame, develop shame resilience, and practice self-compassion. When we become more loving and compassionate about ourselves and we begin to practice shame resilience, we can embrace our imperfections. It is in the process of embracing our imperfections that we find our truest gifts: courage, compassion, and connection. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed everything in this book. Well, I highly recommend, if you haven't read it or if you want to read it again, go back and have another look at Guidepost 2 and think about how you can take that into your lives and how you can cultivate some self-compassion. See you soon. Bye.